Hey, my name's Rick, and I'd like to thank StreamSets for asking me to be a part of the DataOps Summit today. I'm a sound designer, composer, teacher, and arts worker with marginalized kids. And up until only a few years ago, I was also a touring club DJ based in Berlin. Earlier in the StreamSets registration process, we asked you to submit audiovisual examples of what chaos sounds like to you, which I'll play in a slightly new form shortly. You've submitted everything from computer sounds to homeschooling, barking dogs, and a maniacal teddy bear, which I've turned into what you're about to hear, which aside from a kick snare and a sine wave are entirely driven by you. And it's the interplay between unlikely relationships of your fragments which give this composition both its sense of humor and movement, or at least I hope so. So I needed a place to start with this work. So I chose the key and the tempo of this song as a sort of bouncing point. You probably won't recognize it when you see this session, but let's jump in. This is the software I'm using. It's called Ableton Live, and the tempo was 168 BPM, and then just started importing, playing with your sounds on a timeline. To see if there was any relationships that were somehow hidden between them. You may be able to see on the right hand side of the screen here, I've kind of got these rough grouped tracks with names like Coffee, Fans, Rain, Crashing, Cafe USA, Typing, Fish, Balcony, etc., etc. And literally I just bashed them all down here on a timeline with a representative sort of beat in the background. And started moving these as puzzle pieces around. This piece of software is called Ableton Live, and it enables me to view the video attached to the audio. There you go. There's our faithful coffee pot. As well as manipulating that separate from the video. I realized pretty quickly that the most humorous and recurring motif was coffee, which seems to be the universal connector of us all, certainly if we spend a lot of time on screens. And I noticed as well that, let me see if I can find it, that the coffee, yeah, here we go. The coffee itself had a fundamental pitch, which was even more exciting to me. If I bring this up here, I analyzed the pitch to be something like D. I'm not sure. And that even within reappearing coffee potting, it sort of formed a chordal technique. So this became the natural idea that I wanted to explore. By itself, there you go. It's a little bit out of sync until I render it out, but and tuned ever so slightly those clips so they are hitting a proper D note. They occur throughout the piece of music. Then I guess I started imagining other pieces of audio like the sound of fans to be almost, they reminded me of a sort of percussion device, so I inserted them. I kind of fleshed out this whole timeline initially into just a sea of clips. The one musical piece the one traditional musical element that is part of this is the piano, which, here we go, which is, yeah, I guess someone's kid playing piano at home. And I thought that was a noble enough idea to use. I've cut up a random part of the phrase, and then I've resampled it very briefly again to sort of create a piano chord. Again, this is sort of nerdy stuff here, but I've taken a single note, stretched it out to make a chord that appears behind only for 2 bars. You get the idea. But what was really interesting to me, what was ultimately interesting, is that I feel that the flow, the narrative flow of this is really driven by the relationship between different elements. So you've got the coffee pot and the crashing waves. You've got very claustrophobic looking small rooms with fans, and then this beautiful, it looks like, I don't know, somebody's house in Florida. And I was really struck by the disparate, really different lives that everyone attending the conference sort of has. And that became the kind of the semiotic in-joke of this work, I guess, as much as the instruments themselves, you know. As I was saying, let me re-articulate that. The tools that I'm using here to produce this piece of music that is really informed by your submissions of chaos are themselves products of artificial intelligence, for want of a better word, machine learning, big data, analyzing creatively big data sets of music and the way that we use these tools, which I've only just realized speaking out loud. So these tools are really creatively helpful for me. They could give me a way of saying, analyzing the tonal profile, the mix profile of a country and western song, and rejigging those random elements that I just talked about to reflect that. Yeah, it's easy to do a video mashup of traditional instruments, and that's been done to death, but I thought, what's the game here? What's the play? What's the dance with chaos? And for me, it was as much about those contrasts, which are super fun, as the musical elements themselves. The narrative arc was about conversations between place, and the unifier was coffee. What's really interesting here is these tools that we're looking at are really informed by machine learning, by big data, by analyzing massive data sets. So I can run I can analyze a piece of music and get these representative curves that come up that direct the way I'll shape my data, my audio data. Or I can use a bunch of pre-recorded profiles of massive data sets to achieve the same point. So this technology of big data is very much entering the remit of music production. And I feel privileged to be able to utilize it for this task. So thanks for listening. I hope some of this has been interesting, but big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all of these ideas are really front and center of the music production process today. Anyway, it's all here. It's stuff I use every day. Yeah, and without further ado, back to conducting chaos. Okay, I'm in the studio. It's in the morning, and it's absolutely crazy outside. Chaotic even. There's people in hazmat suits. COVID is causing an absolute political mess here. But ultimately, all I really want to do is listen to Drake, as in the Grammy Award-winning Drake. And this feels like a silly enough place to start with the exercise appointed to me, which is to kind of make sense of your submissions and turn it into something kind of musical, maybe just entertaining. I don't know. Let's see how we go. I'm about to download your submissions now. Anyway, see if we can have a conversation with what you've submitted to create something at the very least kind of stupid or fun. I hope you enjoy. Hey, good morning. Made some progress yesterday. It's turning into a little fruity mashup. The really interesting thing for me is it seems like you StreamSets cats are scattered across the world and across a whole bunch of languages. So I'm going to keep chipping away. I might do a couple of different renders, a couple of different takes on stuff, but it's really interesting sitting with this footage. Yeah, God, what a strange old thing. Anyway, I'll check in later. Yo, it's 10 to 5 in the studio. I've been cutting up all of this stuff, and God knows how it's sounding. It's pretty mental. Let's have a look. Just some crazy insight into the chaos that is everybody's lives. It looks better like this. My biggest single takeaway from this exercise was that the material that you provided me to create a song with was really varied and, you know, interesting. But what made the work itself sort of come alive, at least for me, was, yeah, the relationships, the unlikely patterns between seemingly disparate pieces of data. Rather than viewing a work in isolation or thinking, you know, I need some drums here or whatever, thinking maybe the drums or the instrumentation is all embedded in the relationships between these elements, and maybe it's those relationships that make this work sort of come alive. Anyway, that's my theoretical bent on stuff, but it was a joy. So without further ado, back to conducting chaos.
Sound of homeschooling.